Welcome back, guys. My name is Demitry Sebastian.
And I'm Wes Kendall.
And we are back in session where your fitness and lifestyle questions are answered and bro science is put to the test. We got ourselves another classic here. We're talking about the chest.
Yes.
We're going to build it. We're going to make
Treasure
your
chest.
front end huge. It is a treasure chest.
Yes.
I feel like we talk legs a lot here. We talk back. And that's because I come from like a powerlifting background and I like to pressure you into talking about things that are functional because, and it's the joke I always make is the reason that people have a weak chest is like, how often are you pushing things?
Well, if you work out on the bro diet, then a
lot
every day.
Yeah, but like functional is like you squat, you deadlift things, you pick up a box, you step up on a thing. People have weak chests because if you do push people, you're probably a bully and they're probably smaller than you. You're probably not pushing 225 people 10 times a day.
Like a shover who
He's
shoves.
just shoving people.
Yes.
Like his chest is huge. He's never been to the gym. He's just an
He
asshole.
just shoves people.
Oh, his ass counts a bad word. It has to.
That's
Feed,
one already.
feed it.
Well,
That's my first one in a while.
You're the first one to break the seal today.
There we
Not
go.
me.
It had to be somebody.
Yeah. Freedom of speech.
Either way, freedom is free. Freedom isn't free.
Yes, it costs $1.
We just got past the 4th of July, so it's over.
Yeah.
But
Damn right I'm free.
we're your chest is something that lags behind on most people. You're very rarely going to meet somebody that wakes up in the morning, decides to go to the gym, and there's like, yeah, I'm good at benching.
Are we just being salty because we're poverty benchers?
I am a big poverty venture, and you think that I'd be better because I got these short little dinosaur arms, because that's usually people say. It's like, oh, if you are short, you squat better. If you're short, you deadlift better. If you have short arms, you bench better. That is true for me on the lower half, but like I don't know where these feeble chest genetics came from, but it's kind of sad. It's bringing me down.
I think what happens is we don't realize it, but I looked it up the other day. Like, what's the average height for Mr. Olympia? Guess.
Ooh, actually, I'm gonna guess 6'1".
That's what you'd think, but it's like 5'9".
Wait, really?
Yeah. They're way shorter than you think because it's like they just look huge.
How tall is the most recent guy?
Phil Heath was like 5'10",
Really?
270.
Okay, wow. Today I learned. No, that's wild.
So it's like they actually these shorter, which I mean, who am I to talk? I'm 5'8", 5'9", depending on who you
Hey,
talk
short
to.
kings.
Except
Short
for on
kings.
Tinder.
Round up.
Yeah. Yep. 5'11" and a half. I'm just kidding.
It's like it's weird. My sister's 6 foot tall boyfriend is the same height as me, and I'm only 5'8"
exactly.
and some change depending on the day. But so okay, yeah. Well, short guys. To our short kings, we look bulkier faster.
Yeah.
Typically, because it's like that's when you get your connectors are short. Because if you get a guy who's basketball players, especially when they're like LeBron James, is not a good example of a basketball player finish because he looks great. Like he's just a big guy, he's very sturdy. That's why he's so healthy all the time. Not as of late as much, but he's had a long career and he's been very healthy because he's very muscular for his length.
Yeah.
Whereas most tall,
Very filled
lanky
out.
people have very long connecting muscles. They aren't very bulging. They're very slender, and that's why they tend to get injured more often. And that's why they don't look as big. They get that nice shred look, but they'll never get the bulgy look.
It's hard to, or it takes a lot longer.
Exactly.
It's not as often that you see a filled out like over 6 foot person than you do who's like 5'8".
Yeah. And that's just us trying to defend ourselves.
Yes.
It's all you tall
We'll take
people.
every hit we can get.
Everything we can get. I can fit into sedans more easily.
Yeah.
I can get into crawl spaces.
I don't need to hem my pants I buy from the store.
I'm comfortable in economy in an airplane.
Yes.
Yep. Don't even have to pay more. I got plenty of knee space.
Yeah.
So and we'll get into this. We'll talk about how to work your chest properly.
Yeah.
It's because it is a good question. Do you think that the chest is something that everyone should be better? Like, it's obviously one of the weak points for most people. Like, do you think that we can change this? Is it possible to make it so that the chest is no longer a failure point for people?
I think the problem with chest is one of two things. Either one, like you're comparing your bench press to like the pros.
Bad place to start.
Yeah, it's hard to do that, because it's like that's where everyone starts on. It's like I'm gonna, try and do the jump that Tony Hawk does. It's like that's immediately what people are trying to do.
Okay,
right off the bat. And then second thing with chest is I feel like so many people dominate the movement with their arms or shoulders instead of their chest, which we'll definitely get into on today's topic.
That is going to be a big point that we're going to be making here because man, oh man. It's something that you can just, if you never pick up on it, and I will talk about it later more, but like that's part of where my chest deficiency was. For a long time, I was just like, oh yeah, giant triceps. I guess I just don't have a chest. I can't grow one. And then suddenly I made a change, just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yeah, it's little tweaks here and there, but a lot of people work the other muscles more than they work their chest, and that comes from, I think, like a mindset of I have to move as much weight as possible.
Exactly. It's all ego. It's all the fear of looking silly. It's like, if I'm not benching at least 225, I'm a dork and everyone hates me.
Well, I feed into that, so I'm part of the toxicity on that.
All you gotta do is hit it once, and then you do whatever you want. You're comfortable from then on out.
Yeah.
It's
Who didn't have that mindset? Like, I just need to get to 2 plates, and then people will respect me.
I wish that people felt that way about every other lift. It's like, because I have what I call the I actually move a little bit of weight club.
Yeah.
It's the, you can squat 3 plates, you can deadlift 4 plates, you can bench 2 plates, and you can overhead press 1 plate. And that's on both sides, everybody.
Yes.
But if you can do all of those things, I think that you're competent. Like, you've entered into the journeyman status. You're not like a freaking athlete psycho badass.
Well-rounded.
But yeah, like, I accept that, like, you have a place at the table. But I don't think that we should lean on that entirely, because, like, I think there's a lot of people that think that they don't get to go even to the gym and, like, participate fully if they can't already do that.
Right. That's a good point.
Which is dumb. Like,
This isn't West Side
belong
Barbell.
here. Yeah, exactly. You belong here. If you're doing less than 225, you belong here more than the guy that can do it. He can go do something else because he figured it out for the most part.
Yeah.
We want you here. So let's get right into it. How do I grow big old man boobs that are angular and nice, and not just regular round boobs that make me sad?
Well, I think the biggest thing that people should do is focus on incline as their primary motion, which is the upper pectoral that they're trying to train. Now, there's a lot of like research out there that also says that, hey, do a flat motion will hit just as much incline as a incline motion, which may be true. But I find that a lot of people have trouble activating their incline unless you really spend a long time trying to like really develop it and get good at it. So people need to in my opinion, I always do my incline motion towards the beginning of the workout where I'm more fresh, and I always try and do a little bit like extra volume so that I can really emphasize that connection with the muscle.
Now, you mentioned incline versus the flat bench.
Yeah.
Decline.
Yeah.
We've discussed it before, just personally, what we feel about it. What do you think about the decline? And for those of you that don't know, have never heard of it, it's like when you see that guy whose head's 45-degree angle to the ground and he's benching, that's a decline.
Well, there's certain pros, like, for example, Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia, one of the greatest bodybuilders to ever live. He actually loved the decline. He thought it was his favorite motion because you have the potential to lift the most weight in that one. So if you have a good connection, you can actually overload more with that. But the problem is people take advantage of that and use it in more of an ego lift than anything else because you can load up more.
I actually never really thought about that, because the only people I see really doing decline, and I think it's becoming very unpopular as a lift in general, is like those manimal, like totally not on steroids at all guys that like, and they're like stacking like 3-4 plates on there, and it's just like, oh wow, like you're moving it.
Right.
It's scary looking. It does not look safe, but I mean they're moving it, so it is easier.
Yeah.
In theory,
it is easier because it's shorter range of motion, and you prioritize, you put less stress on your shoulder because it's more tricep and chest driven.
Okay.
So I think it does have a place in building your chest, but not as nearly as much emphasis or focus as your flat or incline.
Okay, because that's what I've always thought about. Is I've done it before, and I would never do it without a spot. That's one thing. It just feels like it's just like that just seems silly to me. And that's pretty much why I phased it out, is because I don't always have a spot. So it's just like, I'll just rather do the flat bench. And if I do fail, I can drop it on my chest and call for help. Whereas like if it's a decline, it's like I'm going to drop it on my jaw and I'm not going to be able to call for help.
Yeah, you won't get it that far.
So it's like it makes sense. But so you're saying that it makes sense to some people to move a lot of weight. There is a use for it, but the flat bench and the incline are probably a little bit more sensible.
You're going to do way more volume with those than you will with a decline motion, unless you're like a power lifter who, has like a lot of, I guess, comfortability with that lift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that it's more of an accessory than anything else.
Got it. Now, speaking of accessories, I've become a really big dumbbell boy since I've met you. I usually start out doing a flat bench. That's where I start fresh. I do weight there. And then almost the remainder of I try to stay away from machines personally, not for any good reason, just because I don't want to. Yeah. So I do like incline dumbbell, do, kind of like that reverse, I don't want to call it reverse grip.
Yeah.
But like flat bench where you're pushing up that way. I do as much like as I can with free weights, they're dumbbells. Assuming I was doing those really well.
Yeah.
Do I need to use a barbell? Do I need to do an actual bench?
Well, I don't think you have to do a barbell bench in order to grow your chest. I think it's very popular because it's like one of those powerlifting motions, just like you said. I think that it like people have attached a lot of I guess merit.
It means something.
A lot of merit to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, if you're bench pressed, then you can do this. But if you're talking about growing your chest, I feel like flat bench is more risky than what it's worth for growing your chest. For strength, you can't beat it, you can't replace it. But I think that if you're going to want to look like Thor or Captain America, then it's like you're going to get more benefit from doing other less risky chest motions to overload than a flat bench.
I think that's an interesting ad, especially because I personally, toxic masculinity checking in, view the bench, the deadlift, and the squat as markers. We just talked about it. Like these are like, if you can do, and some people care about the overhead press, but I really don't, but it is a good indicator for me.
Right.
It's like certifications. It's like the difference between going to like a life coach versus like a therapist. It's like, oh, well, the life coach doesn't have these certifications. Like that doesn't mean they're bad at what they do.
Yeah.
They just don't have these certifications. And like but at the end of the day, being able to do those individual movements, those very specific movements, will be an identifier to everyone who does not know you. It's like, okay, that guy can do these things in a general sense.
Yeah, to a degree.
But not all. It's like, it's not, it doesn't have to be true.
Yeah.
So like you said, as you get older especially, you don't want to get injured. You don't need the certification. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to prove anything to anybody. You're just trying to have a long lifting career. You're healthy. You want to look good. If you think you're going to blow out your shoulder doing a barbell bench press, like maybe don't.
Right.
It's just, is it worth it to you? Like, is everyone knowing that you can still do that worth it? Or would you rather just look good and feel good?
I think that more people get injured on a barbell bench than a squat or a deadlift.
Oh man, I wish you'd said that before. I would have looked that up. I'm curious.
No, I'm pretty sure that's the case just because like those two, I'm talking about like at the higher levels.
Oh, I wonder just across the board because it makes sense to me just because an ego lift on a squat, you drop it off your back. An ego lift with a deadlift, you just drop it. Like biceps happen and stuff, but like the bench, it forces you to like push it past a little bit because you don't want to drop on your face, right?
Well, not even that. It's just you're putting so much more stress on a smaller muscular system than you are the other two. So it's like the other two are considered more of a full body lift. The bench press puts extreme pressure on the bicep tendon, the shoulder joint, and your wrists, and it's like those power lifters who are like at the highest level are more likely to snap their shit up doing bench press.
And we talked about that a while ago. That guy who blew out his chest and it was just all yeah. I mean, it's safety first. You know your body better than most people. If you don't know it at all, go talk to a doctor. But that is, I think, a good point to be made here is that, like, at the end of the day, put your ego at the door every single time, even if you think it matters, even if you're an industry member. It's like, if you got to stop benching. But you can still do dumbbells. They're great.
Yeah.
There's machines, there's cables, and we'll roll right into that. From an entirely healthy standpoint, I can do all of these things.
Right.
Actually, I'm going to ask you two questions. Rank these from what you think is best to worst.
Okay.
Dumbbell, barbell, machine.
For what?
Number one being the best, number three being the worst.
What exercise are we talking about?
I'm just saying in a general sense. Like if you had to get rid of them, like it's like
my God.
Get into your head. You can only use dumbbells. You can only use bar. You can only use machine. 1 to 3
for every workout ever.
For chest.
I would say skip the bar on everything. If you had to eliminate one, I would lose the bar, and I don't think you could only do machines or dumbbells. You'd have to do some of both.
Okay, actually, you know what? I'll just accept that. So you're saying bar gone?
Yeah, completely. I don't think you need it at all.
Okay,
yeah.
No, I
if
think
you have the other two, you don't need it at all.
Supporting statement of what we just talked about. Love that.
Okay, I don't think you need it for incline. You don't need it for flat or decline. You could do everything you need from a machine or dumbbell position and grow like probably 95% of as good of a chest as you ever could.
I'd venture to say you could even potentially get rid of the machine. I mean, it wouldn't be great, but if you had to, like, again, gun to your head, get rid of everything, I would pick the dumbbell over the machine, probably.
I don't think you can take the sets to failure. This is what happens. Without the machine, chest motions or push motions, you can't take your sets far enough into the failure zone to make an extreme progress. You have to get forced reps or assisted reps at some point, and it's too risky with a bar and dumbbell as you get in the stronger ranges.
This is not what I expected. This is good. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Okay, so as far as the dumbbell, the bar, the machine, you made a couple points here already. Yeah. That the machines and partly the dumbbells, but less so. Yeah. Getting those force reps in, getting those failure sets in, pushing your muscles past where pushing past those thresholds to grow. Right. That's where the machines and dumbbells sort of live. Right. Dumbbells more of like a hybrid zone. The bar, is that to you mostly just about strength at that point? The benefit of the bar, and this is why it's effective, is you can lift potentially the most weight. Yeah. Out of all three. You can lift more weight on the bar than any of the other three, more than a dumbbell, because they don't even make dumbbells big enough. Plus, that's too much stability and keeping it up. I don't have that problem. The whole logistics of the dumbbells gets too complicated as you get stronger. The machines, obviously, they're limited to their systems. Yeah. And then at some point, you can't fit any more things on the bar. So it's like and it's not technically real gravity. Anyways, you're on a mechanical system. Well, you've been having that problem recently in some of the machines. Not necessarily with chest workouts. I think it was back stuff that you were like, I've tapped out this machine. Yeah. Which is a champagne problem, of course.
I mean, there's other things I could do, but don't think that I'm like
champagne problems.
Dusty Hanshaw. It's just like I can't fit any more weight on the machine.
I lifted all the weights. It's over now.
Yeah, that's why you can't really replace a lat pull down. You can't replace a chest machine. You can't replace a leg press. It's like they will always have a place in hypertrophy because you can take those exercises farther than you could a free weight. Okay. That includes bar or dumbbell.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. It was interesting to hear, if you had to get rid of something, the bar. And I think that's good. I think that's a good thing to say, again, because it goes back to that ego stuff. But it's interesting to hear that the dumbbells, it's just like, because I think I have the thought process, and this is very antiquated, that a lot of people used to be like, the machines, get rid of them. We don't need these here. So if it's a cable or if it's a pull or anything, it's not even real gravity. It's all BS. Don't get near me with a machine. But as the bodybuilding world has developed, and even powerlifting, you start to realize it's like you just can't quite get out of a free weight what you can out of the specificity of a machine. I don't know if that's a real word, but
it's a style of training. If you're looking for getting better at being a CrossFit athlete or a power lifter, then you have to do the bar. You've got no choice because that's your medium in which you compete, right? Yeah. So guess what? You might actually have to lose the machines if you're a power lifter. But if you're a bodybuilder and your number one goal is size and development, strength, conditioning, then I feel like the bar has the least impact.
And to the powerlifters, Wendler actually supported machines. He said that you should do your primary lifts, and then the machines are exclusively for accessories so that you're a more well-rounded individual. And that's mostly it's less about looking good, feeling good. It's more about protection. Yeah. You learn how you're able to protect your joints better with those accessory movements that you can't quite build as well while you're doing the actual lift, because you're just trying to move as much weight as possible. But if you have those accessory muscles, then you're able to protect yourself from yourself when you're trying to force a movement.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll be talking about how to actually grow a lower chest, and we will talk about protecting the remainder of your upper body while you're trying to get huge.
Deal.
As always, thank you guys for watching the video. This is our little reminder. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Go check us out on the podcast apps, pretty much any of them. You can find us at BNS Radio. Find us on Instagram at BNS_radio. You can find me on Instagram at Demitry Sebastian.
You can find me on Instagram, WKendall_MFT.
Tell your friends, tell your family. Every single subscription we get is very helpful to us. We love you very much, and we appreciate the support. So you have a lovely day, and let's get back to the show. Welcome back, guys. We took a while to start actually talking about chest, so let's actually talk about growing it. We talked a little bit about the upper, we talked about the bar, we talked about all the ways to do it, but how do we actually make it bigger? Is the lower chest the way to a nice chest? Is that how you actually look nice and boobity like Arnold?
No, because I feel like people need to prioritize upper chest more. Lower chest seems to be like where a lot of people store fat, and why would you want to increase the area that's already sagging? Right?
That's an interesting concept there.
Yeah, I think lower chest training for aesthetics is usually done as an afterthought.
So you grow the upper chest as you're losing fat. That'll lay off the fat that's on your chest. But if you were to focus on lower chest, would it actually make you potentially look more gyno-y? I don't even know what the word I want to use is.
It won't help it look better at all.
Okay.
If anything, training upper chest makes it look better because you have a taller, higher chest that makes more of the emphasis at the top as opposed to just training that bottom under part, which, if anything, will just make the saggy part out more,
Okay,
work out more.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So assuming that we focused on our upper chest, we've got our fat levels down a little bit, we are there. How do you actually work on the lower chest?
I like to do the hammer strength machine because what happens is it puts your elbows all the way out to the side, which puts a huge stress not only on the lower pec but on the outside of your chest as well. Another useful one would be like dips.
Yep.
Dips are really big. That was also really good because you'll hit triceps and shoulders on there too. And then you can also hit, of course, a decline bench, but I think that's more of a strength motion than anything else.
So for the hammer strength as well, something to be aware of is they don't label them well, obviously, at the gym. They're just machines.
Right.
There's the incline-y one, which I find to be a lot easier, and then there's the one that I think you're talking about that pushes from a lower stance.
Yeah.
Be careful about that because you might convince yourself that the incline one is the right one, because I used to do that a lot where I'd be like, yeah, I can do a whole bunch on the hammer strength, but I was avoiding the one that came from a lower direction.
Yeah.
Because it was hard. I didn't like it.
Yeah, that one's tough. You have to do it wide so you get a big stretch.
Big stretches.
Oh, yeah.
What a lot of people don't think about, myself included, because I just feel like I'm going to get myself hurt, is how the shoulders are linked to the chest. Right. There's just no way to deny it, because if you think about it, like when is you're having something hurt while you're doing a bench press, it's almost always the shoulder. It's like, oh, my shoulder. Right. That's because your shoulder is a part of it. Can you make any sense of that for at least people like me?
Well, it's used to finish your presses, your shoulders, and of course they stabilize the motion throughout the whole range as well. But I think a lot of people train them together because, just like you said, you're going to hit some shoulders every time you do chest. It's just unavoidable, especially on the incline ones. You hit a lot of your front or anterior deltoid, so that is going to have a lot of crossover when you're doing your chest days.
Okay.
So a lot of people, because of that, they're like, hey, I already beat up my front delt, so I'm going to start, throwing in some medial and rear delts in there on top. So I might as well hit the whole shoulder since I'm already hitting, a part of it. So
you can roll your shoulder day and your chest day into the same day.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. It'll be like a push day, or it'll be that accessory work, like what you're saying, that will protect the joint, and help you with your bench press.
So actually, here's a good question, because I talked about how the overhead press, and if you're doing like a 5-3-1 Wendler's thing, he actually had like shoulders as like their own day, like the overhead press. Yeah, which is, I feel, different than what most people do. Like, can you do a successful overhead press and develop that muscle group in the same day as your chest day, or is it going to limit each other?
I think if it's your goal to max out that lift, then it should probably have its own day, because you do a lot of upper chest in your shoulder, in your overhead press as well. Yep. That's another thing. Overhead press hits not only front delt but also upper chest.
So it's almost a secondary chest day at that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a stretch, but no? you will hit it with it. Yeah. Okay. There's ways you can isolate the chest out of it, but if you're doing a strict overhead press, you're going to hit a lot of chest too.
Okay. So if we're doing a strict overhead press, but we decided we're not going to focus on strength, we're not that worried about it, I can start with my bench, start with my incline, and then maybe have a overhead press just in there. Be that a machine, dumbbell, what have you. You just kind of fit it in there, and it lives in that realm comfortably. You're not gonna screw yourself over in any way. Yeah. Okay, so we talk about something that I always suck at, is lateral raises. Anything involving my deltoids. I am not a bird. I will not fly away. How do you do those right? Because it's funny, because when I do it with you, I have a terrible time. When I do it myself, I feel like I never do enough. I feel like there's not like an image, because there's it doesn't have to be pure suffering. It doesn't. It is. It can be good, and I think the pure suffering way with you is great, but obviously, like, there needs to be a certain amount. Okay. Like, is there a rear, mid, front, or like focus on mid? Is there like a logic there that should be your baseline for how to work that group?
Yes. So you're not gonna like try and 1 rep max lateral raise, right?
Okay.
So it's like that's more of a squeeze than anything else. It's not like you're trying to set strength records. So what I like to do is do low rest, high volume on lateral raises to try and A, metabolically fatigue the muscle as much as possible, and B, do like get as much blood in there as possible. So I think a lot of people, when they do their lateral raises, like, you should be doing a lot more, I guess, partial and lower reps with constant tension. So on my lateral raises, I don't even go all the way up to 90 degrees. I stop about 2/3 of the way up, elbows flared out, and then back down before they relax. And in doing that, I'm able to not activate my traps, which is probably the biggest problem people do, is they use more of their neck muscles than they use their shoulder muscles.
I am so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But also, I just have this image in my head of someone trying to 1 rep max a lateral raise, like some guy just like, like chalking up his hands and like with like 65 pounders, like, ooh, one, and putting it down, like, oh wow, yeah, got that. Probably has like this little stand for his iPhone. It's like, this is like, what are you doing, sir? This is not how that works. So what you're saying is you can segment those, though, and do nice, like, I'm not going to call it a half rep, but a focused rep. Yeah. Now, would you recommend that you have, so we'll say there's 3 ways you could do a lateral raise, like a front one, a side one, or a mid one, and a back one. Should you do all 3? Should you focus on one each time, or like, can you like do all of them? I don't want to like fatigue versus injury kind of deal, like, because they're a small muscle group. You don't want to overdo it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only lateral raise is the one out to the side. There's a rear delt raise, which is, looks like a bent over fly, and then there's a front dumbbell raise, which is just like you're bringing the dumbbell from your side out in front of you, or sometimes with an arc or wherever. I think that if you're trying to hit the medial head of the delt, you got to do lateral raises, you have to do front raises, and you have to do barbell raises. So anything that's bringing your arms out to the side or elbows up is going to hit the side. Okay. I feel like that should be about 1/3 of your shoulder day, is that type of side delt work.
Yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. And also, it's like, we always talk about, like, how do you know someone's on steroids? Like, oh, they have really boxy deltoids. And it's just like, well, maybe they also just actually do their shoulder stuff, which I feel like most people actually don't.
I feel like you're right. It is common to have very full looking shoulders for people who are using steroids and stuff like that. So that's like usually an easy go-to. It's like, oh, that guy must be juicing. But I think what would be a better indicator is like, or not for steroids, but like where you can see if someone's like, hey, is this person cheating and juicing, or are they like really spending time on their shoulders? Is if all 3 heads are even, then I don't care if you're juicing or you're natural. That takes a lot of work. Yeah. Like that just doesn't happen overnight. You don't have like a balanced shoulder. You have to really put in a lot of planned out and like structured thought and procedure in order to make that happen.
I can only think of like one image of like on Instagram once where I saw someone, like, obviously there's like the Olympia guys and stuff like that, but it's just like you never see somebody that like outwardly shows off like their deltoid really close. Like they'll do like, like their bicep thing or whatever, but that kind of hides it, like lays it all flat. Very rarely will you see someone like, this is the striation, look at how nice this all is together. Because that's like, that is a, that's the chef kiss of, I really did this very nicely.
Yeah, it's like an industry like secret. It's like when someone can see that all 3 shoulder heads are balanced and developed, then it's like those are the little details that only the experienced and like refined people can notice.
Got it. Yeah. And we'll wrap this up with what I think is, in my mind, one of the redheaded stepchildren of muscle groups, because I think that when it was in the we'll say the early 2010, everyone was doing shrugs. Right. Everyone was big on like, you gotta have a big neck, because it was like, you saw like it was the action stars always had like, they're like, I don't even want to have a neck, I want to have my traps touch the bottom of my ears.
Right. They want Brock Lesnar traps.
That was a real Exactly. It was like you'd only see it on action stars and fighters because like that's how you prevent yourself from getting choked out because you just go and you'd be able to protect your freaking carotid.
You can't, what is it, sleeper hold someone if you have to choke out a telephone pole, right?
Exactly.
Their neck's the size of a telephone pole. You can't choke that out.
Very big fighter thing. Like people like do. It's all the Joe bros. They're like, I do. I make sure my neck is huge because when I'm doing my jujitsu, you can't freaking choke this out. I'm an oak. I'm an oak tree. So, outside of that community, it seems like no one gives a shit anymore. It's like it used to be huge that you made sure you had a nice chest, really big, thick traps, and then the arms. It was like this nice little like a cape of muscle,
right?
And then if you had abs, great, but really didn't matter. Now
no one could see your abs with your shirt on.
Exactly. Now it seems it's like arms, chest, and abs is like popular, especially like on Instagram. It's like the nicest looking. Right. What happened to traps? Why does no one care anymore? Like, is it because it's hard? Is it because we just don't? Is it not like that type of masculinity? Not like super front leading? I don't know.
Well, as far as the I guess bodybuilding divisions, the only division that train traps is the bodybuilding, the heavyweights.
Really?
Yeah, the other guys don't train traps because it makes them look more bulky as opposed to like wide and aesthetic. So that was kind of a big thing in 2010 or whenever, when the men's physique and classic physique divisions got introduced, trap training kind of like took a hit.
Okay.
Because you didn't just have to be a 300-pound bodybuilder anymore. You could be like, Zac Efron and look, shred ski for the ladies.
Zac Efron's hot. What can you do?
So it's like, that was the look now. So that kind of took a hit to it. Just like you said, a lot of the strength and I guess combat sports rely on trap training.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then I think another one was a lot of, goes back to steroids again. Traps are one of the fastest muscles to grow when you take steroids. A lot of times people actually shoot the testosterone into their traps.
I literally saw some slight off thing. The guy I follow on Instagram posted a thing about like, he's like, what do you guys want to know about steroids? You've probably got 3 hours before Instagram takes this down.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the first things he says, like, yeah, stop pinning in weird spots. Just do it right into your trap. And I was just like, this is the weirdest thread I've seen on Instagram in a very long time.
Yeah. So people like probably like swollen and inflamed anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like they're sticking the needles in there.
That's crazy.
That's already the fastest muscle to grow from steroids. So it's like they're not training traps at all. They're like, I need to like not train traps in anything because it's like that muscle's already going to grow.
I think that's a lot of where that Silverback Nation stuff came from, like the gorilla look, like that lumbering over shoulder look was when you see these massive traps, the big deltoids, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna strangle someone to death.
Right.
That's that look it gives you. But all that aside, I swear I've seen in the last 3 years like 3 times I've seen people doing shrugs.
Right.
Like, because it used to be it was impossible. It's like I need to do this thing. I need to press, and there'd be some guy who's wearing a hoodie with the sleeves cut off, and he'd be sitting there hovering right in front of the dumbbells, like doing shrugs
with the heaviest dumbbells.
With the heaviest dumbbells he could find, and then putting them back, and then just standing there and staring at himself in the mirror. It's like, bro, that's great. I love that for you.
Yeah.
Can you like take like 2 steps back? And it would never happen. But like you don't see that anymore. Is the shrug the way of the dinosaurs? Are there better things you can be doing with your traps?
I think that motion is more common at like the LA Fitnesses and the EOSs.
Maybe that's why I don't see it anymore.
We're spoiled being at these more advanced gyms where people know how trap training works.
Fair is fair.
I agree. You don't see that very much because, obviously, this is one issue I've had with my traps is I actually have a shoulder injury. And because of that, my body shuts down my shoulder muscle and makes my neck muscle do the work instead to protect the injury from getting worse.
Interesting.
So what happens is people who have things like that, or say like you did a lot of shrugs and you got that muscle really strong, your body will actually prioritize the stronger muscle over the weaker, potentially injured muscle, and then you won't even work it out. So
having an overdeveloped trap can actually screw up your deltoid training.
And your back training, because you'll use your trap and your neck muscles first before you use those weaker, smaller muscles.
Because it's funny that tracks into a lot of stuff. Because like I was talking about how I used to have a I over focused on arms when I did my bench press. I thought it was like a push up because you're doing a push up for the PT test. They always tell you like get nice and tight because it makes it so you have a nice tight unit so you can do more push ups. So I started benching. I started doing that, which was all arms. Right. So then when I had to start developing my chest, I had to go like especially wide because no matter what I did, my body was just like the triceps have us covered. We don't need to use the chest, and it's just because your body's trying to protect you from yourself. Yeah. But it's silly at the same time. So. Can you just name a couple like trap workouts?
Exercises?
Yeah, just a few. I mean, I think that everyone says like it's one of those things like, yeah, you know trap workouts. I was like, yeah, of course I do. Yeah, sure.
I think deadlifts is probably one of the most common ones that no one gives it any credit. Deadlifts hit a ton of traps. If you haven't done deadlifts in 2 or 3 weeks, go do a set tomorrow, and I bet your traps are on fire the next day. The biggest one I've noticed for my personal trap development was hang cleans. Hang cleans really hit the traps.
Say that for me one more time. A hang clean?
Hang
clean.
Hanging clean. From your knees, popped up to here. You're doing a huge triple extension with your traps, back and legs.
And you do that with like a barbell.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a CrossFit thing. You come from the knees, thigh region, and you just right up there.
Pop it right up.
And you don't do overhead press, and you just go right up and then bow down.
Overhead press changes it to something else, but the clean part from the knees to the rack position, which is right here, hits a ton of traps. And then the last one, I think, I guess some group rack pulls in with deadlifts, but the last one would be like a close grip upright row.
So like where you do like your cable pulls for like biceps or triceps, you put it low and you do like a pull up to your chest or neck area
there with a bar or Smith, anything.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well then, so we don't need to do the shrugs. We don't need to go back to that era. We don't need to bring back the Silverback Nation, and do not put needles into your neck, even if people on the internet tell you to.
Sounds dangerous.
I mean, I think this is a great topic in general. I think the chest is fun. I think the chest is one of my, it's funny that it's one of my weakest workouts, but it is one of the ones I enjoy the most. I feel the most fulfilled afterwards.
It's fun. It's fun to train.
It's a good feeling to have a good chest day. It's a good feeling to have soreness in your chest, as opposed to like legs where you're like, I'm Bambi and I feel shitty.
Most guys start out with like a chest day as one of their first workouts, and they're like, that sets the standard on what a workout should be like,
Exactly. And everybody, since you're here with us, I'm going to give you a piece of free chicken. Don't do your chest days on Mondays. I can't stress that my life has improved significantly since shifting my chest day to Tuesday.
Yeah, or Sunday.
Sunday. Well, any day. Anything is good on Sunday. Like no one's there anyways. Day of the Lord. That's at least that's what they say. They're not at church, but that's the excuse they're making.
You may now approach the bench.
So as always, guys, we appreciate it. You can find us at BNS_radio. If you haven't subscribed yet to the YouTube, BNS_radio, pretty much the same across the board. Please give us a subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. We love hearing from you. You can find us on Instagram. Same name. Surprise, surprise. BNS_radio. You can find me on Instagram at Demitry Sebastian.
You can find me, WKendall_MFT. Thank you, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Yeet.